All right, all right. Peace, family. How y'all doing tonight? Thank you again for your patience in working with us. We had some technical difficulties, but we ended up working it out. It's your brother Ishmael Law on the Law Squad, African Moorish Scholarship. We're just going to take care of this little echo that we have on here, and then we can keep rocking from there. Let's see. Okay. We have Professor Denham as the guest tonight. And Professor, is that echo coming from you, or is that from me?
I don't know, brother. Peace. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you fine.
Am I echoing?
But I don't know. It sounds like it's some kind of a double delay. Once we get some viewers, maybe we can get some clarity on it.
Yeah. Everything is good, brother. Just, glad to be here. You know what I'm saying? Doing what we do. Just gonna kick it.
Yes, sir.
Drop some jewels, drop some information, disseminate the information. Ask the hard-hitting questions like you always do. You know what I'm saying? And make it a thought-provoking topic.
Gots to do that.
Yeah. That's necessary.
For real. Hold on one second. Just gonna make sure we can get some invites out, and we'll be good to go, family.
All right.
What we're going to be dealing with the topic tonight is the Moorish Orthodox Church, and we're going to see what's really good with that. They've been running amok, doing some things for the last couple of years.
Yeah,
So
I know a little bit about them. You know what I'm saying? They've been in existence since actually the late 50s. The dude Peter Lamborn Wilson, who everyone knows as Hakeem Bey, he got brought into the whole Moorish science thing through a guy named Rafi Sharif Bey. This was in like 1957. Well, no, pardon me. Actually, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Peter Lamborn Wilson was brought in by a gentleman named Warren Tartaglia, and Warren Tartaglia was brought into the movement by the dude named Rafi Sharif Bey, who supposedly was linked to a Moorish Science Temple of America in Baltimore in the 50s. And what he did was he broke away from the temple and formed a movement called the Noble Order of the Moorish Sufis. And the Noble Order of the Moorish Sufis was how this gentleman Warren Tartaglia got inside of inside of this particular movement, and he got his name changed to Walid Al Taha. That was the name that he took, that he got chosen for. He was the one who met Peter Lamborn Wilson while Wilson was in college in the early 60s, and he initiated Peter Lamborn Wilson into his order, which was the Moorish Orthodox Church. He was one of the original founders, along with Hakeem Bey, and then there was like 5 or 6 other people who was founders also, but they broke away and formed a separate Moorish Orthodox Church. And what happened was the dude Warren Tartaglia, he ended up dying at a very young age in his early 20s. So I figured he was knocked off because of leadership things, leadership purposes and so on and so forth. So Peter Lamborn Wilson, Hakeem Bey went to the Moorish Orthodox Church, and they formed that whole move. They formed that side of the movement, and that's how it basically happened. That's how it all started.
So from the information of what you know about it, this Moorish Orthodox Church, are they Moorish people?
Nah, they're all Europeans. And what they did was, because of what happened was in the 50s and the 60s, they were jazz musicians and poets. Kind of like, are you familiar with the term called beatniks?
Yeah, so like the hippies and stuff like that,
right. William Burroughs and all of them dudes, So that's where Warren Tartaglia came out of. He came out of that beatnik era. You know what I'm saying? And what happened was, they were all Europeans, every single one of them. To this day, the leaders of the current movement that's stationed in Newark, not Newark, New Jersey, but in New Jersey, the Moorish Orthodox Diocese of New Jersey, that still stands to this day, which is incorporated, as well as the order of the there's an order also that is a part of the MOCA, and it was legally incorporated in 1995, and it's a lodge, the El Kidder, the Kawadi El Kidder Lodge, and everybody's European. They're all Europeans. They took the esoteric ideas of Moorish science and Prophet Noble Jew Ali, and that's where that's what they supposedly adhere to and administer and study. But what also what they've done is it's called Moorish Orthodox or Orthodoxy. That Orthodoxy aspect comes from their connection to the old Catholic ways and the Eastern Orthodox traditions. So that was all mixed in too, because they still had some of those dudes had connections, like Hakeem Bey still had connections with what they would call the wandering bishops in the Eastern Orthodox Church or whatever. So no, they're not Moorish. They're not of African descent in any means. Again, you see, this is just more mere imitation. Um, some people say it's flattery. I don't see it as such. I just see it as, a form of mockery in a sense to me, man. You know what I'm saying? And they even went as far to add a sixth principle to the five divine principles. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. They
Yes.
added another principle, beauty.
Mm. So they've
That
added
was
their own principle to it.
They added another principle, which was called they called beauty. So that's pretty much what they was up to, man. And Peter Lamborn Wilson, he was linked to Timothy Leary, and they had a sport. Timothy Leary had the spiritual. He had some type of spiritual movement, but it was really tied to acid tripping and LSD and mind control and stuff like that. So Timothy Leary had a close link to Hakeem Bey for a minute, you know,
Mhm.
and their vice is Freemasonry. They have a Freemasonry base along with the Tantric from the Hindu and Buddhist traditions. They deal with the Vendata. They deal with different sects of Sufism, specifically the Ishmaeli and the Beklavi and the Chishti Sufism. And they also deal specifically nowadays. They deal with chaos magic. Chaos magic is a big part of the Moorish Orthodox movement. You know what I'm saying? So it's totally straight away from principles of Sufism, even though they still say they adhere to the principles of Sufism. You know what I
So
mean? They
explain this to me, if you can.
hmm
Within the fabric of the temples, within like the Moorish Science temples,
right.
why hasn't there been like a clear denouncement of this spin-off group of Europeans that are under a Moorish banner, and they're acknowledging Prophet Noble Drew Ali? Why hasn't there been like a clear denouncement, or do you know of any clear denouncement of this organization?
Nah, I don't know of any fatwas or any type of denouncement, denouncing the Moorish Orthodox Church. Why? Remember the time period that they were formed was during the late 50s, and at that time the Moorish movement was kind of at a stagnation.
Mhm.
Um, Kirkman Bey had passed away, and
Right.
it was at a stagnation. So I don't think people had they radars on. You know what I'm saying? And then also using the science of Freemasonry, because the Moorish Orthodox Church was under the paradigm that the Prophet Noble Drew Ali was a Freemason, that he was a Pythian knight and had 32 degrees and so on and so forth. Where they got that information from, I'm not sure, but that's something that they advocated. So Freemasonry was a part of that paradigm that they dealt with in the Moorish Orthodox Church at that particular time, as well as the esoteric teachings of Moorish science. And it is said that by the late 60s and early 70s, they had reconnected with a temple in Baltimore and a temple in Brooklyn, New York, which provided for them circle seven Qurans, as well as catechisms and Moorish questionnaires and so on and so forth. So there was a connection, you know what I'm saying, between members of the Moorish Science Temple of America and possibly, well, not possibly, but there was some type of connection between the Moorish Science Temple of America and these Europeans. There's no doubt about that.
So there's the photo in 2017 of the European that's being sworn in, and he's standing in front of them, and apparently he's a member of this Moorish Orthodox Church.
Mm-hmm.
And it's used in our promotion for this particular video. So in 2017, you have clearly Europeans who have no Moorish in their history,
right,
interacting with Moors and being taken in as Moorish Americans. But I don't understand how that happens. How can you nationalize someone as Moorish and they're not Moorish? They're European. I think this person is Irish, with no Moorish history.
Right. And I think I know exactly what you're talking about, brother. I've seen that picture, and I think the whole Irish thing, and the ancient links and so on and so forth between the Gauls and the Celts and so on and so forth, and the ancient British Isles and things of that nature, but still to know and understand that those ancients were still of African descent. You know what I mean? Like there was bloodline of African descent, regardless, you know, in those time periods. But in modern times, I can't really. He has a nationality. First of all, he's Irish. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, you know what I mean? So I don't know what their purpose of or why it was done. It was said that, you know, he was adhering or taking his shahada, you know, adhering to Noble Ali as a prophet and coming under the Moorish, you know, Islamic paradigm, but not as a Moorish American, but as an Irish American who acknowledges the prophet. I don't know. I was, you know, I didn't buy too much of that. I just listened.
Right. Of course. I mean, it's not like we're privy to the intricacies of this particular situation, but it's just how does a non-Moorish person?
It doesn't happen, brother. It doesn't happen, but it's happening. And obviously there has been some form of historic reference to this, because it is said that this particular movement, the Moorish Orthodox Church, came out of the Moorish Science Temple via this Rafi Sharif Bey in 1957, July 7th, 1957 temple, one of the temples in Baltimore, that this order was, this noble order of the Sufi Moors was formed out of. And this Rafi Sharif Bey real name was Yale Jean Singer. Yale Jean Singer, a Jew born to an Orthodox Jewish family. You understand? So these are all Europeans.
Right.
These are all Europeans. And it is said that this particular European, you know, he took his shahada in you know, back in the earlier days, he took his shahada and, you know, changed his name, got married in the mosque and so on and so forth. So he lived as a Muslim, but he was still, you know what I'm saying, he was still a European.
Okay.
You know? And it is said that he was a mufti in the Moorish Science Temple of America.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some connections. They even have the Moorish Orthodox Church even has a silsat. In Sufism, silsat means the golden chain, where you can trace yourself back through all of the sheikhs. You know what I'm saying? And their golden silsat, their golden chain consists of, oh man, the Prophet Noble Jew Ali, Marcus Garvey, Hakeem, a bunch of other names. Hakeem Bey's name is in it. It's just crazy, man. Just when you read it, you know what I'm saying. I wish I would have. Right. I wish I should have wrote the names down, all of them, so I could just give you an example. But it was crazy though. You know
so let's break it down and see if we can get some accuracy on this. Post it up on Facebook in the forum. Not Scientology. I'm a Raw Squad African Moorish Scholarship. There's an article that reads pedophilia and American anarchism. the other side of Hakim Bay.
Yes, sir. You taking it
So,
right there. Yes,
yeah,
sir.
indeed. So I'm going to read the article, and then let's see how accurate it is, or maybe you can add some clarity to this of what's being read.
Yeah, you jumping right. You jumping.
Now, the people are saying that there's an echo. Is your microphone up really loud? Perhaps.
Mine?
Yeah. Is that what's causing the echo?
Let me see.
Something.
Is that better?
Uh, is the echo still there? Yeah, I think they still hear the echo because I still hear one. Hold on one second. Let me see if there's something on my side I can do too. Um, 1 second, G. Let's see. Is the echo still there? Yeah, I still hear the echo. Hold on 1 second. All right, is the echo still there? No. Can y'all still hear the echo? They said it's some kind of an echo. It's hold on 1 second.
I can't hear you. I I can't hear you. No sound. No sound. Can't hear you. I can't hear nothing, man. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? You can hear me? I can't hear you. Whatever you did the first time when you said when you was checking for the echo, whatever you did, you cut me off from hearing you. I can't hear you, man. Nothing. Can't hear nothing. Can't hear you. You you gonna call me back? Can't hear nothing. You can hear me? You can hear you can't hear me? I can't hear you. They can hear me? They okay. So like you were saying about Hakeem Bey, that whole organization, they back and promote homosexuality, pedophilia, um, the LGBT thing, the whole thing. They have a whole criteria and organization built around what we would call in Islam, what we would call dawa to them. You know what I'm saying? So that's specifically tied in. You know what I'm saying? Because Hakeem Bey himself was a homosexual and a pedophile, as you were going to discuss. So I was just going to go into that also, you know? So it ties right in to where it was going. So this particular organization or this particular movement, you know, has a pretty nefarious background. Y'all heard me? Okay.